SKOL Vikings, let's win this game.
Vikings fans, brace yourselves. A key piece of the offense could become a cap cut, and there is already a mock draft locking in an athletic replacement. Up next, off-field trouble is already turning into trade chatter. There is also a prediction of an explosive boost to the run game for our quarterback. And the final story, involving the defense and a shocking turn for a former Viking chasing a Super Bowl, hits hard. But before we break down every detail, subscribe to the channel and drop your take in the comments. This is Bleacher-style debate, the way everyone loves it. There is a conversation heating up that goes straight at the heart of the offense. Nothing is confirmed, but it is the kind of projection that makes you stop and think. Money is tight, and when the salary cap squeezes, someone important usually feels it. Only after all that pressure does the name come into play, T.J. Hockenson. Some analysts believe he could become a cap casualty. It is that painful cut made just to make the numbers work. I do not like that idea. A good tight end changes how defenses line up. And when Hockenson is healthy, he is a safety valve over the middle and on third down. Still, I understand the cold math side of it. If the numbers do not add up, the team looks for an exit. That is when fans in purple and gold raise an eyebrow. Dane Brugler from The Athletic dropped a mock draft on January 15th saying Kwesi Adofo-Mensah could target the top tight end in the class. He named Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon, a big athletic player who feels like a project. He could turn into a monster in the right hands. Brugler emphasized Sadiq's ball adjustment skills and his willingness to block. To me, that already checks an important box in how Kevin O'Connell likes to play with formations. Now let us talk straight without drama. If the team moves on from Hockenson, the responsibility falls on a rookie or someone much cheaper. That changes the playbook. It changes how the quarterback works the middle of the field. And it changes pass protection. A tight end who truly blocks saves both the run and the pass. And if Sadiq is really viewed as a top-tier talent, like some teams are saying, this is not just any pick. This is a serious investment. I can see two sides fighting in my head. One side says cut costs, get younger, keep it moving. The other says you do not just replace chemistry and reliability, especially with a young quarterback trying to establish himself. And I know how the stands react. Half the crowd will push for a full reset. The other half will scream that letting go of a reliable target is madness. There is also something many people overlook. A tight end is not just reception numbers. It is presence. It is the guy who helps cover up holes. When he is gone, the offense becomes more predictable. Only here do you get this fan-level read on the Vikings. On paper, it looks simple, but on Sunday, it is a different story. I want to hear you on this. If the people running the cap really consider this change in direction, would you rather bet on a rookie like Sadiq or keep Hockenson for one more year and adjust elsewhere? Tell me in the comments. And hold on, because the next one involves Jordan Addison and an off-field situation that could blow up fast. Sometimes a player performs well, but it feels like he keeps testing everyone's patience off the field. And that, my friend, always turns into locker room talk, front office talk, and talk among fans in purple and gold. The name at the center right now is Jordan Addison. On the field, he has produced nearly 2,400 yards and 22 touchdowns in 46 games across 3 seasons. But the problem is not the route running. It is what happens when he is not wearing a helmet. On January 12th, he was arrested in Tampa for trespassing. It is a misdemeanor. Reports say he was asked to leave a restricted area at the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino and refused. The Vikings said they were gathering more information. Fine. But people connected the dots immediately because this was not the first issue. Remember July of 2023? He was cited for reckless driving at 140 miles per hour in a 55-mile-per-hour zone in Minnesota. Then in July of 2024 came the serious situation near Los Angeles. He was found asleep behind the wheel on a freeway near Los Angeles International Airport. There was a driving under the influence charge. And in 2025, the NFL suspended Addison for 3 games to start the season because of that case. His production dipped. He played 14 games and finished with 42 catches, 610 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That is when the chatter really caught fire, a so-called realistic trade proposal. Cole Smith from Vikings Wire floated an idea sending Addison to the Baltimore Ravens for a 3rd-round pick in the 2026 draft, 80th overall. The logic is simple. He is still on a rookie deal, so he is cheap. But with this history, the franchise could grow tired of holding the line. For Baltimore, it would be a calculated risk. Pairing Addison with Zay Flowers would give Lamar Jackson another weapon. Speaking very plainly, I understand the temptation to listen to offers, but I also know what it means to lose young talent that can separate deep. That does not show up every year. Still, in Minnesota, patience with repeated off-field issues does not last long. And when it becomes a constant distraction, the team starts thinking about the future, the locker room, and the culture. At that point, no highlight is enough. If that phone really starts ringing, I would bet it will not be only Baltimore calling. Big teams are always hunting for wide receivers. The Chiefs, the Bills, the 49ers, everyone wants another piece. Then the question changes. It is not just trade or no trade. It becomes for how much and at what moment. And stay with me, because the next story is about what Minnesota can do to take some weight off our quarterback's shoulders. A big name is showing up in the run game conversation. You know what truly bothers me? When the offense always feels like it is begging for miracles from the quarterback's arm, then you look at the run game and see that it lacked juice. It lacked explosion. That is not just bar talk. The numbers show the strain. The bottom line is this. The Vikings finished in the bottom 10 in rushing yards, with 1,841 total. That was cited by major voices using ESPN data. And when your team cannot run, opposing defenses play lighter against the pass. The quarterback's life becomes a grind. That is where a name keeps popping up everywhere. But hold on, I will not throw it at you right away. The idea is to bring in a running back who breaks tackles and creates yards where there should be none. J.P. Acosta from CBS Sports said on January 14th on CBS Sports HQ that Minnesota could pursue exactly that type of player. Now we say it. Kenneth Walker III. He is coming off a season with 221 carries, 1,027 yards, and 5 touchdowns in 17 games. And there is more. Acosta pointed out that Vikings running backs struggled in broken tackles and missed tackle rate, while Walker ranked 4th in that metric. In bleacher terms, he is the guy who takes contact and still falls forward. That changes games in December, when it is cold and the field is heavy. And I have seen enough Minnesota cold to know that matters. The question everyone asks is why he would leave Seattle, because there he split a lot of work with Zach Charbonnet. Sometimes a player wants to be the engine. In Minnesota, if cap cuts really happen, the path opens up. Aaron Jones Sr. has been mentioned as a possible money-related departure. And when you look at true competition for carries right now, Jordan Mason is the main name. You can picture Walker looking at that and thinking, okay. Then comes the part that ties directly to the team's future. The central figure is J.J. McCarthy. Former player Chad Johnson said on the Nightcap show on January 9th that McCarthy essentially has one more season to prove he is the guy. That is heavy to hear, I know. But that is how the NFL works. If you do not deliver quickly, teams blink and change direction. Ben Gusling from the Star Tribune also said on K-Fan on January 6th that it does not look like Minnesota will pay starter-level quarterback money to bring in someone to truly compete head-to-head with McCarthy. If someone expensive arrives, it is to play. Then the conversation changes entirely. So yes, it makes sense to genuinely support the kid right now. A running back who threatens big plays takes pressure off the pass and balances the offense. And just so I am not pretending to be emotionless, when I see this kind of projection, I think finally someone is talking about the basics. Football is still won with line play and the run game. I want to know your temperature on this. Would you spend free agency money on a player like Walker to protect McCarthy and give the offense an identity? Talk to me in the comments. Only here do you get this bleacher-level breakdown because it is not just about a flashy name. It is about fit and timing. And get ready because the next one shakes the defense. There are interviews, backroom details, and a strange vibe in the air. You cannot look at this defense and pretend it does not matter. When a coordinator clicks, the whole team changes. And when that guy starts listening to offers elsewhere, you feel a chill. The name at the center of the noise is Brian Flores. On Wednesday, January 14th, it came out that he accepted 2 more interview requests, one to become head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, another for a defensive coordinator role with the Washington Commanders. And he had already spoken with the Baltimore Ravens about their head coaching opening. The awkward part is how this clashes with what Kevin O'Connell had been saying. KOC repeatedly said he expected Flores back if he did not land a head coaching job. But with Flores even accepting a defensive coordinator interview outside Minnesota, it triggered that wait what moment. Kevin Seifert from ESPN summed it up well. There is really no other way to read it. Flores wants to see if he can find something better. And I understand his side. He has leverage. His defense plays aggressive. It confuses quarterbacks. We saw it work in plenty of games, but it is also clear he wants control and he wants to be valued. And that is not just talk. Last offseason, he reportedly turned down a contract extension. Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk wrote on December 27th that the Vikings were working toward an extension and Flores chose to wait. If that was a bet on himself, it is paying off now. But let us talk about what could be pushing him to look elsewhere. The secondary struggled in 2025. There was not enough proven talent. And when the defense is constantly holding the line, the coordinator takes hits too. On top of that, the team is entering the offseason with a salary cap hole close to $44 million. That limits reinforcements and could limit how much they can pay to keep Flores. There is also the offensive side. The team committed to J.J. McCarthy as the starter without a real backup plan. They have already hinted they will address that in 2026. But if you're a defensive coordinator, you look across the ball and think about your ceiling. If the offense is inconsistent, the defense lives on the edge all game. Being honest, I am not angry at Flores for listening. I am worried about the replacement, because minds like that do not fall from the sky, and we all know how it goes. One wrong hire, and you lose an entire season. So if he leaves, is it just about money? Or is there something deeper involving the locker room and the vision for the future? That is the question that keeps echoing. And stay with me, because the next story involves a former Viking who suddenly showed up on a team chasing the Super Bowl, and that says a lot about how this league really works. Some things in the NFL feel scripted, but it is just real life. A guy who was barely on the radar suddenly lands on a roster still alive in the big race. And that messes with the head of anyone who follows Vikings football every day. The name is Trent Sherfield Jr., but pause before jumping to conclusions. He did not arrive as a star. He signed with the New England Patriots practice squad. That move that says we need depth right now. And depending on how the weekend goes, he could be activated and see the field in the middle of playoff chaos. And look at the full circle. Sherfield has been everywhere. This is his 8th team. He has played for the Cardinals, 49ers, Dolphins, Bills, then Minnesota in 2024. Then the Broncos, and now the Patriots. A true survival career. I look at it and think this guy probably keeps a bag packed at all times. For those who remember him in Minnesota, the stat line does not jump off the page. 8 catches, 83 yards, and 1 touchdown in 2024. But his real value never lived there. His impact was in the dirty work, special teams, the part of the game that never makes highlight reels but wins field position and protects leads. He became a pillar under Kevin O'Connell, logging 221 special team snaps. Offensively, he had a very specific role as a 5th wide receiver. Step in when needed. Do not complain. Block. Cover kicks. Be useful. And for a roster and win now mode, that matters. Dustin Baker from Vikings territory emphasized that, noting how Sherfield went from unemployed to a team still alive in the Lombardi chase with a single signature. That is the NFL in a nutshell. Today you are out of a job. Tomorrow you are on a playoff sideline waiting for your shot on punt coverage. There is another layer here that hits fans in purple and gold. New England is becoming a meeting point for former Vikings. Baker mentioned names like Garrett Bradbury, Stephon Diggs, and Vidarian Lowe there as well. It does not mean anything magical, but it gives you that strange feeling of seeing pieces of your team scattered around. Being honest, I like seeing a guy like this find a path. He represents the hard side of the sport. But it also makes me think about what Minnesota valued and what it let go. Good special teams are invisible until the day you do not have them. And that is where the conversation grows bigger. When you connect this with everything else we talked about today, you can feel that the Vikings are at a crossroads. And I will tell you this much, the way I read it all is not comfortable. I will say it the same way I say it to myself watching games on the couch. The Vikings are at a decision point. If the cap pressure turns TJ Hawkinson into a question mark, the entire offense changes. If Jordan Addison keeps giving the headlines reasons off the field, the front office may lose patience and the locker room feels it. The Kenneth Walker III prediction is tempting because it helps J.J. McCarthy breathe and gives the team an identity. But then you look at the defensive side and see Brian Flores listening to everyone, and that is a warning sign. And when a former Viking like Trent Sherfield Jr. finds a path on a Super Bowl contender, it reminds you how fast this league moves on. My bold statement is this. The year 2026 will decide whether this team is truly being built or just putting out fires in a nice-looking way. I'm not talking about a cosmetic rebuild. I am talking about hard decisions that define culture. Fans in purple and gold can take hits, but they also demand direction. So write in the comments, this space belongs to everyone who lives and breathes Vikings football. I want to read your unfiltered take, just like in the stands. Stay tuned. SKOL Vikings. Let's go.